With the re-release of Shin Godzilla, I want to talk about the entire Godzilla franchise. As a Godzilla fan, this has been one of my favorite franchises, however not everything about it is good. This is solely in my opinion since I know not everyone is a fan of Godzilla, but I know people are a little lost when it comes to the lore, so let's dive deep into the destruction and devastation of Godzilla. Oh, and just a heads up, there will be spoilers. So Godzilla was created in Japan by Toho Studios and originally was the metaphor for atomic bombs, but ever since then he would become the most versatile character in cinema history. Godzilla 1954 was the grandfather of giant monster movies and it was great. Basically, a giant prehistoric-like monster rises from the depths of the ocean to lay waste on Tokyo. The destruction scene was, well, really well directed, and for a 1954 giant monster movie, the practical effects weren't too bad for the time. The impressive camera tricks and angles make Godzilla look huge and almost realistic. Now the cons for this movie is probably the human characters. The acting is a bit wooden but they're still relatable enough to care about them. Still, great movie. Godzilla Raids Again is less than, it's okay at best. Basically, somehow, Godzilla returns and does battle with another giant monster called Anguirus. This movie is not as good as the first one as this movie was cheaper, rushed, and the human characters weren't too memorable. However, it is interesting to see Godzilla's very first fight, and the fight between the Air Force and Godzilla on an island was pretty entertaining. For a 1955 giant monster movie, the fight scenes aren't too bad. Yeah, they're a bit cheaper than the original, but it's still fun to watch. King Kong vs. Godzilla is where the franchise starts becoming a bit more sillier. So basically, a pharmaceutical company wants something to boost their rating, so they find King Kong on an island and use him as a publicity stunt. Meanwhile, Godzilla breaks free from an iceberg and starts terrorizing the countryside. This movie was just goofy fun. The practical effects are a hit or miss. Godzilla's design is fine, but King Kong's looks goofy as heck. There was also this fight scene between King Kong and a giant octopus called Udako that was kinda ridiculous, but in a silly way. The human characters are silly also with comedic relief and they're a bit forgettable. Highlight of the movie was the final fight between Godzilla and King Kong down the summit of Mount Fuji. This movie is just goofy fun. However, I actually think the next movie is better. Godzilla vs. Mothra from 1964 I actually find better than King Kong vs. Godzilla. So, basically a giant egg washes ashore and everyone starts inspecting the egg. You've got a businessman trying to use the egg for a tourist attraction, and then you've got our main characters who are trying to help these two twin fairies return the egg back to Mothra. Meanwhile, Godzilla emerges from the ground, after being buried in mud from a typhoon, and he starts terrorizing Japan. These scenes are just so freaking cool. From Godzilla's appearance to the awesome music and the destruction scenes, man, it's really fun to watch. Unfortunately, that can't be said for the actual civilians, so they asked the two twin fairies for Mothra's assistance against Godzilla. At first the fairies denied their request, but eventually they were persuaded to help out. Mothra confronts Godzilla, and honestly, for a 1964 giant monster movie, the fight scenes are really impressive, creative, and just plain fun. After Mothra pins Godzilla down, he kind of gains the upper hand, burns her wing with his atomic breath, and kills her. While Godzilla continues his rampage, the two tiny twin fairies sing a song to hatch the egg, and out come the Mothra larvae. The Mothra larvae confront Godzilla on an island, wrap him up in silk and send him plunging into the ocean. This movie is definitely one of the better ones in the Showa series. It was well-paced, had decent effects, and was just fun as hell. Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, is where Godzilla, transforms into an anti-hero or at least less of a threat to humanity. So basically a meteorite crash lands on Earth and some scientists go to investigate. Meanwhile, a princess gets possessed by a Martian, assassins are after her and she starts prophesying that Godzilla and Rodan will return. Her prophecies actually come true as Godzilla and Rodan end up fighting each other in the countryside. Meanwhile, the meteorite hatches, unleashing King Ghidorah, who starts terrorizing the countryside. The two tiny twin fairies call Mothra to work with Godzilla and Rodan to fight King Ghidorah. After a long, stubborn conversation, they're eventually persuaded and help Mothra take down King Ghidorah. This movie was a blast for the tag team action, the destruction, and honestly, the human plot was alright too. Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, or Invasion of Astro Monster, is another one that's just silly and fun. So basically, aliens from Planet X borrow Godzilla and Rodan to fight off King Ghidorah. The aliens and some astronauts transport Godzilla and Rodan to Planet X, and honestly, this was an interesting fight because it's the only Godzilla fight to actually happen somewhere other than Earth. After Godzilla and Rodan defeat King Ghidorah, everything seems peaceful, or so it seems anyway. Then the aliens mind-control Godzilla, Rodan, and King Ghidorah and unleash them on Earth, attacking Japan. The military eventually comes up with a plan to defeat the aliens, and all the monsters turn back to their normal selves. Godzilla and Rodan resume their fight against King Ghidorah, and yeah, they all end up plunging into the ocean. This movie is both silly, sci-fi, and honestly a lot of fun. Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, or Ibira, Horror of the Deep, is considered to be a weaker entry in the franchise, but I think it's a fun, adventurous one with, some obvious issues. So basically, a group of friends get stranded on an island looking for this dude's brother, and they come across a terrorist organization, a giant lobster called Ibira that surrounds the island, and they find Godzilla sleeping in a cave. They wake Godzilla up, he fights Ibira, takes on a giant condor called Ukondoru, and destroys the terrorist base. Mothra is sent to the island to rescue the people, and well, all is saved. This movie was kind of a hit or miss. It's fun and adventurous, but the movie is honestly slowly paced. However, I think you'll still have fun with this one. Son of Godzilla is an alright one, if you don't think about the effects too much. So basically, a group of scientists try to conduct an experiment to control the weather on an island. They come across giant praying mantises called kamacuras and find an egg. They break open the egg and well, hatches out Godzilla's son. Godzilla emerges from the ocean to rescue the baby. After defeating the Kamacuras, Godzilla adopts the baby as his son. This movie has decent character development. Godzilla, instead of being a destructive monster, he's more of a father figure here. Aside from Godzilla and his son's poor designs, there's some fun stuff to find here, especially the effects of a giant spider known as Kumonga, who does battle with Godzilla and his son towards the end. I always thought the practical effects for Kumonga were, honestly, pretty decent. So yeah, hate or love it, it's still a heartwarming, enjoyable movie. For Godzilla standards, that is. Destroy All Monsters is considered to be a great Godzilla movie, however, I think the human drama lacks a bit. So basically, aliens unleash the monsters on Earth's cities. Godzilla, Rodan, Anguirus, Mothra, Manda, Gorosaurus, Baragon, and Varan start attacking the Earth's cities. The human drama is a bit slow, but the movie's highlight is when all the Earth's monsters, including Godzilla's son, fight King Ghidorah and drop his ass. Man, that stuff was great. So yeah, this movie was good, but the human drama was a bit slow. Godzilla's Revenge, or All Monsters Attack, is considered to be the worst Godzilla movie. So basically it takes place inside a kid's dream. He dreams he's on Monster Island and befriends Godzilla's son. In the real world he gets beaten up by bullies and even gets kidnapped by bank robbers. Everything about this movie is just awful, honestly. Even the fight scenes kind of suck because it's just recycled footage from previous Godzilla movies. From Godzilla fighting the Kamacuras, to showing Anguirus, Manda, and Gorosaurus from Destroy All Monsters, to Godzilla fighting Ukondoru, to Godzilla fighting Ibira, and to fighting Kumonga. The only fight that was, I guess, slightly amusing was Godzilla's fight against Gabara. That fight was at least a little entertaining. So yeah, this is the worst Godzilla movie. I really don't recommend this one. Godzilla vs. Hedorah is a weird but fun one in a strange way. Basically, an alien monster lands on Earth in the form of sludge and begins eating the world's pollution. This alien, amphibious-like creature is known as Hedorah, also called the Smog Monster. As he continues to eat pollution across Japan, Godzilla confronts Hedorah to stop him from poisoning the world. Hedorah subdues Godzilla, poisons more people, and spreads toxins across Japan. The military and Godzilla eventually defeat Hedorah after a long and toxic battle. This movie had some of the weirdest cinematography but also had fun action sequences, silly moments, and even some dark moments. I'd say give this one a watch. It's a fun, strange one. Godzilla vs. Gigan is an alright one. It's a bit slow, but it's fun. So, basically, aliens wearing human skin are hiding out in an amusement park they built to plan an invasion on Earth. The aliens unleash Gigan and King Ghidorah on Japan, and Godzilla and Anguirus go to stop them. The human characters just kind of expose the aliens, nothing too crazy. The movie has a slow build-up, but the destruction scenes and monster action are pretty fun. Godzilla vs. Megalon is honestly the cheesiest Godzilla movie. It's silly, campy, goofy, and fun all at once. So, basically, an underground civilization called Seatopia gets super mad after atomic testing disturbs their underground kingdom. So they send Megalon to destroy the surface world. An inventor builds a robot named Jet Jaguar, and, sends him off to Monster Island to get Godzilla's help. Godzilla shows up and teams up with Jet Jaguar against Megalon and Gigan. This is seriously one of the most hysterical battles I've ever seen. So yeah, if you want a silly, fun, goofy movie to just not think too hard about, give it a watch. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla is actually much better. So, once again, aliens build a robot called Mechagodzilla to invade Earth and, kill Godzilla. Meanwhile, an archaeologist finds a statue that awakens a giant monster called King Caesar. After Mechagodzilla, wearing fake Godzilla skin, beats the crap out of Anguirus, Godzilla confronts Mechagodzilla, and honestly, it ends in a tie. The final battle was Godzilla and King Caesar against Mechagodzilla, and yeah, it's a very fun and badass fight. The human characters aren't too bad either. They investigate the aliens' base and manage to destroy it. This movie was just very fun, I highly recommend it. Terror of Mechagodzilla is the last movie in the Showa era. This is also a direct sequel to Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. In this movie, the same aliens rebuild Mechagodzilla and try to kill Godzilla again, this time with the help of another giant monster called Titanosaurus. Godzilla was basically the underdog in this movie. The human side actually had a more dark tone. It felt a little more Frankenstein-like, and it's a bit slow, but honestly, the fight scenes are worth it. The next era of Godzilla is the Heisei series. Godzilla 1985 or The Return of Godzilla is a good one. This is a reboot with only the 1954 movie serving as its predecessor, so basically Godzilla returns and starts attacking Japan. This movie is a little more serious than the Showa series. The effects are a bit better even though some of it doesn't look the best and the direction is good. Godzilla vs. Biollante is actually pretty damn good. I really love the practical effects in this movie. So, basically, after a scientist's daughter dies from an explosion, he splices his dead daughter's cells from a plant and Godzilla cells, creating a hideous plant monster known as Biollante. Terrorists from around the world threaten Japan for the anti-nuclear energy bacteria, which is a biological weapon. They blackmail them, or else they would unleash Godzilla from the volcano due to the last movie. Godzilla gets unleashed, fights the military and fails, and then battles Biollante. This movie was good. It had a unique tone and really good practical effects for a 1989 movie. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah is a good one. Aside from the janky effects, the writing is good and interesting, so basically people from the future go to the present to erase Godzilla from history. So they go back in time, let out some little creatures called Dorats, and on the island during World War II, they encounter a dinosaur called Godzillasaurus. After they transport the Godzillasaurus to the present, thinking it erased Godzilla from history, all of a sudden King Ghidorah comes out of nowhere and starts destroying Japan. Lucky for them, nuclear waste at the bottom of the ocean turned the Godzillasaurus into Godzilla, along with a nuclear submarine. Godzilla emerged out of the ocean and does battle with King Ghidorah. After battling King Ghidorah, Godzilla now becomes the problem, so the woman from the future goes back to the future to revive King Ghidorah and turn him into Mecha King Ghidorah. She time travels back to the present and battles Godzilla using Mecha King Ghidorah. This was a good one, and yeah, some of the janky effects might put you off a bit, but there's some great scenes nonetheless.